Good evening, everyone. We are going to call tonight's meeting to order. We're going to start with the approval of the agenda. The recommendation is that the agenda for tonight's meeting, the public meeting, be approved. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Stevens and Councillor McIntosh, questions or comments on the agenda? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Any disclosures of direct or indirect pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we had no closed session tonight. So up next, we are going to sing our national anthem. I'd ask if you could rise if you're able, please.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We would like to acknowledge the treaty lands and territory of the Williams Treaty Nations and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We also recognize that Dufferin County is the traditional territory of the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee and is home to many Indigenous people today. Tonight's meeting is being aired on public television and or streamed live and may be taped for later public broadcast or webcast. Your name is part of the public record and will be included in the minutes of this meeting. Any members of the public connecting via telephone are reminded to press *6 to mute and unmute. Please remain muted until the chair requests comments or questions from the public. Tonight, we're here for a statutory public meeting. I'm just going to briefly outline the procedure. The statutory public meeting is in regards to RZ 2023-02, the Fairgrounds Shopping Centre. If there's anyone who'd like to speak to this matter, you're invited to call 1-289-801-5774 and enter conference ID 130-334-890#. Callers will be invited to provide their questions or comments following the conclusion of the meeting presentation. Any member of the public connecting via telephone is reminded to press *6 to mute and unmute. If there is anyone who wishes to be notified of further consideration of this topic, please submit your name, phone number, mailing address, and email address to clerksdepartment@orangeville.ca or call 519-941-0440 extension 2276. And just to clarify, the email address is clerksdept@orangeville.ca and reference the Fairgrounds Shopping Centre. Please note that any information collected is a matter of public record. We're first going to turn it over to a presentation by Jim Kotsopoulos, principal from JKO Planning Services, Inc., Mike Mayhack, project manager of Cushman Wakefield, and Peter Tama, partner at Urban Metrics. Following that, we will invite questions or comments from the public, and then we will hear from council. So I will turn it over to Jim, Mike, and Peter for their presentation, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair and sorry, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is Jim Kotsopoulos. I am the planning agent on behalf of the applicant. And with me tonight, as was stated, I have Mr. Mike Mayhack, the project manager for Cushman Wakefield, and also Peter Toma, the principal from Urban Metrics, who also has authored the, obviously the very important document that's been under consideration with this application being the retail market cap review. And I did provide for a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm not too sure if, is that being brought up, or do you want me to share my screen with that?
You can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. Can everybody see this?
Not yet. Nope.
Nope. Okay. Let's try that again.
Now we can see it.
Thank you very much. So as the clerk had identified, the subject lands are known as the Fairground Shopping Center, and there's a municipal address of 5565 75 4th Avenue. The site location, as you can see it on this one, is along Highway 10, along the east, 4th Avenue to the south, and it's bounded by 5th Avenue as well as 1st Avenue further to the west. The subject lands are less than 1 kilometer northeast of the downtown of Orangeville. The subject property is surrounded by a variety of land uses: commercial, high-density residential, medium-density residential, low-density residential, and then, of course, you've got some open space and environmental features further to the east. There are a number of existing commercial uses on the site, and I've listed those for everybody's information on the left-hand side. This more specifically identifies the exact parameters of the subject lands as in terms of what's included, what's not included. And as I mentioned at the beginning, with us tonight, in addition to Mike Mihak from Cushman, we have Peter Toma, who authored the Retail Market Cap Review that is very critical in terms of the justification with this proposed application. And to date, we are continued to work very closely with township staff in order to facilitate this request. The zoning bylaw, in terms of the amendments for the zoning bylaw, we are specifically looking at two sections, section 24824 and section 24834, which currently restrict the permitted uses on the lands on the basis of maximum gross floor area and maximum number of establishments. And I'll just now get into the essence of the urban metrics analysis, which is obviously the critical point with this application. And so I have a series of slides, but I'll just summarize basically the more pertinent information associated with this study. Urban Metrics has prepared a retail market cap review to assess any potential impacts in eliminating the existing restrictions within the zoning bylaw that restrict the permitted uses on the lands, as I said, on the basis of maximum GFA, maximum number of establishments. Some of the key findings, and this is in a series of slides, but again, I will just highlight the overall pertinence in terms of the information provided on these slides. The forecasted demand for retail in the town exceeds supply, with a significant note being that the town's central business district currently provides for approximately 300,000 square feet of commercial space, with limited vacant land available to facilitate new developments within the CBD district. The subject lands are a key retail node that is capable of addressing immediate and future retail service commercial space demands within the town of Orangeville. Eliminating the existing restrictions and allowing for a broader range and amount of uses on the lands also supports and enhances the economic vitality of the town by more efficiently using the commercial site and increasing its prominence to pass-by traffic and other visitors in the community. The elimination of the current restrictions in the bylaw also reduces the need to continuously seek planning permissions when a unit within the development changes its use or when an existing permitted use wishes to expand the size of their operation on the lands. In conclusion, this application will facilitate the retooling of these two special provisions that will provide a more viable opportunity for the owner to reinvest in the property. The current policy framework within the zoning bylaw is outdated and not in the public interest, as it no longer reflects the market realities of landlords, tenants, or consumers. And as Mr. Toma so succinctly stated in his report, the bottom line, which applies to the subject lands, the restrictions have outlived their useful application. The market cap should be eliminated outright to help improve and optimize commercial market conditions in the town of Orangeville, enabling this commercial market node to support the needs of the trade area. And Mr. Mayor, those are my comments.
Thank you very much. I will turn it over first to the public. Was there any questions or commentary from the public on this item? Anybody joining via telephone can press *6 to unmute. Seeing none, and is there anybody in the gallery wishing to speak to this application? And seeing none, I will turn it over to council. Was there questions from council? Councillor Sherwood.
Yes, Your Worship. Thank you. Perhaps, Mr. Ward, you could clarify these. Were these extra provisions put on in order to satisfy the concerns of that type of development with the BIA? Was this initiated to satisfy them? And my next question is, has the BIA been consulted about this?
Mr. Ward, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Councillor Sherwood. So the origins of these provisions date back, I think, to the mid to late 90s or early 2000s. The rationale behind it of the day was to avoid competition or interference with the viability of the downtown area. They didn't want this to be a mini downtown or detract from the business functionality of the downtown. So they wanted to insert some parameters around minimums and maximum floor space to try to restrict the extent of the businesses within. I think with the applicant's submission, they've demonstrated that times have changed, that the retail landscape has changed, and it's sort of proven that the restrictiveness of those provisions has maybe perhaps served a bit redundant or unnecessary. In fact, there's maybe question now about the viability of the Fairground Centre as new units are coming forward seeking changes within the existing building footprints. They're sort of bumping into these restrictions of floor area minimums, maximums, et cetera. It gets quite complicated for the users, and it gets complicated for staff administering those provisions. So they've come forward with this amendment. To answer your question about the BIA, we have circulated them. They are providing comments. They obviously have an interest to make sure, or they've expressed their interest to make sure, obviously, that the business functionality of the BIA is upheld. It's not impacted, but they also recognize that the Fairground Centre needs to be viable as well.
Follow up?
Yeah, one follow-up, Your Worship. Do these same provisions, I know this is one specific applicant, but do these same provisions apply to the commercial development at 151st Street, formerly known as the Orangeville Mall, but now it's not referred to as that, I believe?
Mr. Ward?
Again, through Your Worship, no, they do not. They're specific to these subject lands.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Councillor Andrews?
Thank you very much, Your Chair. A very intriguing report and presentation to council. I found a couple of points also of interest, and as the Vice Chair of the Economic Development and Culture Committee, the opportunity to see additional commercial units coming into our community, retail, certainly would be a benefit to our community. The point that I wanted to make is I heard the words changes or use or expansion of some of the existing facilities. Does this also look at the additional creation of new units on this site? Is that also part of the proposal
Mr. Ward?
or the result of these changes?
Through you, Your Worship, I'll attempt to answer that question the extent I can. I may pass it over to the applicant for further insight, but my understanding of this submission is it's not as part of a specific development proposal. They're simply seeking more flexibility for units within the existing building footprints. I'm not sure of any aspirations to future new build on the site.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Mr. Kotsopoulos, did you have anything to add to that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would agree with Mr. Ward's comments. I would also ask Mr. Mihak in terms of any potential new uses, but at this time, this is strictly to eliminate those restrictions as opposed to trying to facilitate something that's pending in terms of any expansions on the lands. But I'll ask Mr. Mihak to also expand if he has anything further to add.
Mr. Mihak, anything to add?
Hi, yes, just to confirm, this is strictly an application to try and address the vacancy problems we're experiencing on the shopping center due to the complications of the zoning. Any future changes to the property would go through a full formal public process.
Thank you very much. Any additional
You're
questions from members of council? No, seeing none. Sorry, did I cut you off, Mr. Mihak? Did you have something else to add?
Oh, not at all. I just said thank you.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Ward, the next item on the agenda is your report. Did you have anything outside of your report that you wanted to highlight for council?
Thank you, Your Worship, but nothing further to add and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, perfect. Then the recommendation is that report INS 2023-57, the Public Meeting Information Report RZ 2023-2, be received by council as information at the public meeting on November 6th. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Andrews and Councillor Prendergast. Any questions or comments on Mr. Ward's report? Okay, seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. That takes us to the end of the public meeting portion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here. Up next, we are going to move on to our bylaws. The recommendation is that the bylaws listed below be read 3 times and finally passed. The bylaw is to confirm the proceeding of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Orangeville at its council public meeting held on November 6, 2023. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Sherwood and Councillor McIntosh. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. And a motion to adjourn. Councillor Stevens and Councillor Andrews, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you all for being here tonight.